Yes, and good morning, one and all. Good morning. Welcome to the midweek's episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption, Incompetence. Welcome to all the students. Welcome. Today is Wednesday, the 11th of June, 2025. Welcome, one and all. Welcome. Hope you had a wonderful night. Hope you're looking forward to a productive day and remainder of the week, remainder of the year. So welcome. As we would normally say, you come on, just share the live, and we're going to be here to bring you the credible and valuable information. So welcome. Today, Wednesday, the 11th day of June, another great day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. Let's give praise and thanks for being in the land of the living. It is a privilege to be in the land of the living, and we must always give praise and give thanks to the Almighty for allowing us this privilege. So yeah, share the live and let them know we're on. And while you're at it, don't forget to give us the thumbs up. I wish to let you know that at this time everything seems to be going fine. We were going fine on Monday as well. Then all of a sudden, the saboteurs intervened, and people on Facebook were struck out, and some people on YouTube, there was a delay on all of that. I've not been able to determine exactly what was the problem, but as we would tell you, as we have been telling you, nothing will prevent us from bringing you the truth. Nothing. We're gonna go through all manner of inconvenience. We're gonna surmount. We're gonna go around the saboteurs, but we're gonna come and we're gonna bring you the credible, valuable information. And like every day, we have lots to tell you today. We have lots to tell you about what is going on, right? My colleague, Mr. Conway, is already here. Well, of course, he was here again on Monday, but then all of a sudden, something. Because I recognize on Monday that you look at the comments, and I don't normally follow the comments during the program because it can be distracting. But every now and again, I would glance. But then I noticed that I think it was 10:58 or something like that. It wasn't moving. Nobody was making any comment. Over 15 minutes, I said, no, something is definitely wrong. Because all the time, those of you who look at the comments and those of you who comment know that people comment all the time. All the time people comment on what is going on. So therefore it was strange. And then we realized that the people at Facebook were somehow struck off. Then people on YouTube were struggling. But I have been telling you that YouTube is a better platform for you to view the program on. And I've been encouraging you to gravitate to YouTube to see the program. Because you know what happens with programs like these, where you're exposing the corruption and the incompetence and you're telling the truth, they complain. They have a whole unit, managed by a certain German. The whole unit, they complain to Facebook, and many times Facebook might shut you down without any investigation. That is what they do. The whole unit that government is paying to do this type of thing, the dirty tricks unit. So you got to be careful. And to the student who sent me that screenshot of the scheduled program, it seems to be okay, because I understand when I checked it that is the background on YouTube when the program is scheduled, right? So we're going to keep monitoring it. We are going to keep monitoring to see what is going on. So yeah, share the live, and let them know you're here. Give us the thumbs up. And as I've said, yes, on Wednesday, following that intervention, we were able to go through, and people were told to go to YouTube. And from the analytics, apparently many persons went over to YouTube and viewed the program from there. So again, welcome, share the live, and as is usual, we're going to go through the usual format where we are going to do the roll call, then we're going to make some announcements, and we're going to go into it, right? And, program schedule at exactly 7 this morning. And first man in was all the way from the UK. Wayne was there first. Well, several persons came in at 7, but Wayne is listed as the first person. Tessa, Barbara, Felicia, Sean from upstate New York, Paulette, Aubrey, Wayne, Joan, Patricia, Peter, Evelyn, Kenneth, and Curtis from Maryland, John, Ezzy. Then they all came at 7, and then shortly after, Desiree, Wayne, Jacko from Georgia, Lennox, Lynette from the UK, Winston from California, Carlton, my squad mate Clifton from Paris, Lucius, Claudius, Aubrey from Canada, Lyndon, Drakes is here, Paulette Gibbo is with us, Marcia Puran from the Essequibo Coast, Carl, Courtney, Warren, Brian, Michael, Dexter, Aileen, Clarence, Ulrich from West Dem is here, Roxanne, George from Baron, George from Baron is here, Carol, Orin from the UK, Vibert 9066 Lawson is here, Rawl 11752 is here with us, Siobhan, the Angel is with us, Sydney, Benji from Myconi, Steve, Melbourne, Clifton, Pastor Smith is here with us, Ezla, Keith from Barbados, Jermaine is here from New Jersey, Ricky Smith is here, Denise, this is Denise Moore from Florida, Trotty is with us, Lyndon, then it was Bonita, Gordon, Anthony, Bradshaw, Peters Hall, and the East Bank of Demerara, 11032, Mr. Sergeant Man, Morton, Hazel, Rhonda, Vibert, and Vibert is on the East Bank. Marcus Umi is here with us. Another Vibert is here with us as well. Pastor came in again there. Uncle Paul is here. Then it was Moses. Then Vibert, Linton is here. Fergus, Compton, Floyd, Magnell, then Dion, Sean, Pito, 8152 is here with us. Aral, Father Masha is in the house. Malcolm, Derek, Hazel, Daniel, Ivor, Valerie, Terence, and this is Terence Young, 9795 out of Canada. Pauline, Kerry from Maryland, Maureen, Joy, Kay, Brenda, Glendis, Vaughn, Jean, Denise, the secretary, is here. Claire, Princess Earl from Lamar Springs, 6123. Marva, Kurt, Conor Rookman is here. True Guyanese. Hope. Russ Ricardo, Raquel, Smitty is here with us, 7464 Smith. Then it was Cecile, Cloyd, Annette, then after Donald, Malcolm, Nettie, good to see you again in class. Michael Emerson. Then it was Rosalind. Marlon is here. Pamela West Dem. Yonette, Winslow, Rayburn, excuse me, Edward. Then we had Colin, Joseph, Randolph, Vivian, Ashley, Grantley. Sagi is here, 9602. Jarvis is with us. Albert, Cranston, Ovid, Myrtle, Mary Smith from Brooklyn is here. Henrik, Elroy, Nello is here. Sheena, Clive from the UK. Rastaman is with us. Amanda, Conali, Junior, Patricia, David, Vashti, Earl, Karen, Leon, Terence, Gavin, Jakey, welcome. Simo is here. Paul, Radatessa, Carl, my squad mate from Arizona. Michael from Imbai Madai. Diane, Boo, Ulrich, another squad mate of mine, he's in Barbados. Salima, Leroy, John, Lester, Dorrit, Ross, Levi, Neville is here. After Neville was Danny, 8219. Danny is here with us. John, Lennox, Norbert. Then it was Lyndon, Clyde, Siobhan, Paulette, Rhonda, Lynn. Normally I said that I'm still in the house, but Nanda is saying she is in Barbados. No, sorry, Antigua. She's in Antigua at the moment. Lorna is here, 14913. Terence, 9135. O'Neill, Janella, Sanjin Beard, Mark, George, Trevor. Then it was Lorraine. Danny is here with us. Carlisle, hope you're getting well, my brother. Doreen, my squad mate out of Canada. Nicola, Lorraine, this is next Lorraine. Then it was Lorella or Lolita, I think it is. Loleta, Lolita, spelled funny for me. Derek, Bray, Leslin. After Leslin, it was DT. Then Charles, Roy from upstate New York, Sion, Michelle, Jam Marion, Claude, Allison, Joseph, Mark, Heather is here with us. Rockwell, this is another Rockwell. Joyce, Jason, Alesta, Mortimer, Martin, Dion, Roderick. Class full today, man. Audrey, Evelina, Selwyn, the next Selwyn, Anne, Denise, another Denise, Melissa. Then we have Philip, Colin, Sharon. I love to see the students like this in it. Lubert, Aubrey, Sharon, Allison, Orville, good Charles, BX is here, Mark, Beverly, Robbie, my old UG teacher, is here with us, and Michael, last man in the schoolyard. Then we had Edward is here. He's when the door was open. Rosie Rose, Abu from the Essequibo Coast, Dion, Carlton, Popo, Alita, they are all here. Joan came back there. They are all here. Welcome, 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 students. It's good to see the schoolyard and the classroom is so full. Good to have you here, and you would not be disappointed. You would not be disappointed because we have a lot of things to tell you. We got enough things to tell you this morning. Enough interesting things to analyze and to bring to you. Let me give the announcements. Then I'm going to bring in Mr. Conway. I think the first sad announcement we have to make is that you have to announce the death of Woman Police Sergeant Mona Bachan. Our regulation number was 7908, and she was stationed in at Springlands in Region 6. We understand that she died recently, and the funeral might be today in Bordeaux. So condolences to the relatives, friends, family members and the members of the Ghana Police Force on the death of Woman Sergeant Bachan. You know, the police dying. A lot of police dying, you know. A lot of police are dying, you know. Death you must. Live you may, death you must. But you gotta watch these people, you know. Some of them cross. They're not cross. Some of them cross. They want to bathe with blue water. You have to get Jandy and all sort of thing for beat them evil spirit out of some of them. And they're many. They are many. Right? So yeah, condolences. And then, you know, again, we talk about these fatal accidents. They call them incident, whatever they want to call them. Because we see now that a 72-year-old man died in the Linden area, suspected hit-and-run accident early morning on June 7th. They're going to say maybe there's an incident, right? But people are dying on the roads. People are dying on the road. This people got to be crossed, you know. I am not a superstitious person, but when you get so many policemen dying, being injured in such a short space of time, hardly a week goes by without a police or an ex-police dying. Something wrong. Something is wrong. Them people cross. I even showed that blue water alone can't deal with that. You know, if you say blue water. And also the thing you got to do, beat the spirit out of them, man, the evil spirit, right? The evil spirit is ever present. And for those of you who are of a certain faith, you're a Christian, pray for them, man. Pray. While they are praying, P-R-E-Y-I-N-G on people, we got to pray on them. Pray for them, P-R-A-Y-I-N-G. We got to pray for them. So then we add, you know, I'm going to come back to this in a short while. Yesterday was the 3rd death anniversary of Quindon Bacchus. Some people might have forgotten. But we're going to talk about it a little bit more when I bring in Mr. Conway. So let me give you the more pleasant announcements. Today is the birth anniversary of Miss Squaddy, 9516. Donald Gritton, retired Sergeant. Donald, all we joined together. Donald spent a long time on the Presidential Guard, and then I think when he retired, having reached the mandatory age of 55, he was at the TSU, I think. So he celebrated. He's celebrating today. Donald was a boxer, you know. Donald Gritton was a boxer. I used to box at the same time with Donald. And then today, I understand, is the birth anniversary of Assistant Superintendent Police Trevor Ben. athlete cricketer, that Trevor Bordy is today. And then we told you about some, we talk about upcoming, so now they are the belated a student, Everett Leonard, and Randolph Watts. I think Watts' number was 1283. I think that was the number. They work with me. Once they work with me, I take a way to remember your number. Or once you were one of my trainees, I tend to remember your regulation number. And advanced birthday greetings are going out to Marlon Rodney George. Marlon was at Summit A Division when I was there too. And Petronella Ali Fraser, right? Petronella, I know Petronella well. Petronella used to win a lot of prizes in the shooting competition. So yeah, those two persons are celebrating their birthday. I think it's tomorrow. So happy birthday greetings to those who are celebrating today, those who celebrated recently, and those who are celebrating in the near future. Now let me bring in Mr. Conway, and then we're gonna go on. CC, welcome. Hope you had a pleasant evening. Hope you're looking forward to a wonderful day and week and year.
So true. I'm happy to be in the land of the living to do God's work. I looking forward for the coming years. You know, I wrote my eulogy in 1999, so I have a long time more to go. And I want to believe that the person who's going to read my eulogy isn't born as yet. Now, let me go on to that announcement. 17908 Mona Bachan. And you are, or she did our recruitment training program at the college I was there. And we developed a fairly good relationship. Recently, we've been exchanging WhatsApp messages. She would initiate it and I would respond. And then I stopped getting. And then last week, I called her number and her daughter answered. Her daughter is Kim. Said, Mr. Conway, mommy died yesterday. It was shocking. I know she was ill. I know she was in and out of hospital. But then she's gone. May her soul rest in peace. I think she should have been far higher than a sergeant, at least an assistant superintendent. I know she got a squaddy 17908 Chong. And don't get carried away by the title because Chong is of African descent. I think Chong is an inspector. And both should have been farther high up of their rank. But then maybe their bodies weren't courageous enough, so they kept them down. Anyway, my sympathy to the, the relatives, family, friends of Mona Bachan. And Paul the funeral is tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the cremation in the Corriverton area.
Right, thanks to that. Tomorrow, the cremation of the deceased Sergeant Bachan. And I'm corrected here. I said Watts was 1288. She's 12886. Thank you, Randolph. I know it's a 1288 something, but the old man slipping up now and again. 12886 Watts, right? And yeah, some numbers I remember very well. Some numbers I what very decent, quiet rank working with media. And I said, yesterday was the June 10th was the third death anniversary of Quindon Bacchus, who was shot and killed by police at, I think it was Haslington on the east coast of Demerara. That triggered a lot of protests and demonstration and so on. Following that, 3 policemen were charged, one with the murder, the Nobriga charged with the murder of Bacchus. And, it is sad to say, the murder charge will take some time, but 2 other policemen are charged, right? Damian McLennan and Thurston Simon are charged for some offense, some summary offense. And up to now, those matters cannot be concluded, 3 years and counting. 3 years. And I remember well, and I have said it over and over in this program, those men were charged and placed before the court on the 5th of July, 2022. And the squatter, the commissioner of police, he wasn't confirmed then. He is squatting and he's squatting till now. Then he was an ordinary squatter, now he's a confirmed squatter. He dismissed the men. On the day they appeared in court, they were dismissed. So there was no presumption of innocence. He unconstitutionally and lawfully dismissed those persons. Right? And let me understand it clearly. The Constitution is clear. A person is presumed innocent until proven guilty. And they know that. They just know it conveniently. So like the case with the senior police officer who's now sanctioned for drug trafficking, you're really going to remember that there's a constitutionally guaranteed provision say you're presumed innocent until proven guilty. But in the case of Damon McLennan, Thorsten Simon, and I think the next guy is Dinabriga, no, there was no presumption of innocence. Dismissed the same day they went to court. Dismissed. There is this animal farm that they call Guyana. So those two men, and I checked it, I remember the thing well. Because when the file went to the DPP and the DPP recommended charges against those persons, right? She also, criminal charges, I should say, they also recommended a disciplinary charge against Simon. And the extended squatter disregarded all of that. No disciplinary charge against, he just dismissed and done with that. No disciplinary charge, as recommended by the DPP, just dismissed, right? And that 3 years and counting. Well, it took 3 years since the charge because they were charged, they went to court on the 5th of July, 2022. So it's just less than a month from 3 years. And the matter languishing long. Justice denied, justice delayed is justice denied. Justice delayed is justice delayed is justice denied. It is really, really sad to see what is going on. So 3 years passed, and I think the one man was charged in the murder. He's committed to stand trial in the High Court. I think the trial had commenced some time ago, last year, I think it was, or early this year. But I didn't hear what happened after then. We didn't hear what happened after then. And then we can't forget Sergeant Vaughn. Yes, student, thanks for reminding me. Let me see how many days today. Today is 400 and, hold on, let me pull it up here. 453 days since Sergeant Vaughn was shot and killed. Police Sergeant Vaughn on duty. Shot and killed, they say, by a colleague. They say it was accidental. And apart from the initial release, we ain't hearing nothing more. Nothing. 453 days. That's 1 year plus and counting. We ain't hearing nothing. And these are the people who will tell us, they use the word transparency. And I've said repeatedly in the past, just as how the Speaker of the House banned the word corruption in the House, everybody should ban police from using the word transparency. Because they are the least transparent organization, perhaps in the whole world. I said that. So yeah, that is what we have. That is what we have. Let me bring in Mr. Conway to comment on those, to say if you want to say anything about that, and then we are going to be moving on. Yes, CC. 3 years since Bacchus killed them. The most ranks went to court charge since the 5th of July 2022. And we ain't hearing anything for the matter can't conclude yet. Your take.
I'm with you. We are on the same page. And then just Linden, I think it's 40 days, they shot and killed by police bullet. They bring in the RAS. The RAS investigated. The crime chief said the CID didn't have anything to do with the investigation. I don't know what's going on because they have to do ballistics. And the ballistics men come under the crime chief. So apparently there were no ballistics. Since then, we hear anything about it. RAS come in, do the investigation, they said together with OPR, and so far we haven't heard anything about it. The man was murdered, police bullet, CID, criminal investigation had no part to play with that investigation. The crime chief says so. And the ballistics, it had to do with ballistics. And the ballistic people come from the CID. So maybe, I don't know what kind of investigation they do. Maybe that's why we ain't hearing anything more about it.
Yeah. Well, in moving on, you remember around the 2020 elections, people used to jump up. The coalition supporters, they used to blow, let the blow, let the blow. And if you ever got to some party, there's a breakout chant, let the blow. Now, it's not let the blow. It's let the cocaine flow. Let the cocaine flow. So we get in a report of a few days ago, traveler from Guyana held in Canada with more than 7 pounds of cocaine in shoes. Traveler from Guyana held in Canada with more than 7 pounds of cocaine in shoes. So the cocaine flowing, despite all what they're saying, how they're doing the cocaine flowing, who letting it pass? Because when I examine this case, there's a photo up there, several photos, but one in particular interests me. A bag or a suitcase with several pairs of shoes. I count about 6 pairs of sneakers and footwear. Then let me go to shoe. About 6 pairs of footwear in this suitcase. Now you telling me, if you are a diligent security person, you're watching the scanner, you're checking for drugs, you're checking for whatever thing. You want to tell me if you see a suitcase with 6, let me say 5 to 6 pairs of sneakers and shoes, somebody traveling to Canada, that is not going to arouse your suspicion? Huh? 5 to 6 pairs of footwear in a shoe, in a suitcase, and that is not going to arouse your suspicion? So when the person arrived in Canada, and again, they named the name, they named the person, they haven't named the airline on which this thing was found, but that is easy investigation. Then I got many flights traveling from Guyana to Canada directly. Check and see which are the flights that go from Guyana to Canada. They flew there. Cocaine, the thing say, a Guyanese at all. I hear me by garden, man. Garden is a garden mostly article. He said, as Guyanese at home was celebrating Independence Day on May 26, custom agents at the Toronto Pearson Airport busted a traveler from Guyana on the same date with more than 7 pounds of cocaine stashed in a number of shoes. According to the Canadian Border Service Agency, the illegal drugs worth over Canadian $437,000 was found in shoes in the passenger's bag. The agency said the cocaine was found using contraband detection technology at the airport. Then they go on to explain certain things. How this thing passing that amount, stashed in shoes? As I've said, you're there and you're observing. That should be part of the training, how you become suspicious. Certain things immediately arouses suspicion. You see 7 pairs of footwear in one. They didn't even separate in one suitcase. And then you are not going to be suspicious enough to have a thorough search of that thing. I know what the story is, and I don't mind, I don't complain. But many times when I travel, well, I don't travel as frequently now as I used to do then. They want to check. I tell them, go ahead and check. I have nothing to hide. Go ahead and check. But for the people who travel often, or not even if you travel often, sometimes when you travel, right? Hold on. Okay, somebody is telling me that the cocaine carrier to Canada is a French national who boarded a Caribbean Airlines flight in Trinidad. The airline made an in-transit stop in Guyana, in which neither passenger nor luggage was deported. Well, it means, therefore, that the people in Guyana might not be to be blamed. So let me correct that. Based on what a student is saying, that this, well, as I've said, they didn't give any name, but the article was saying that a traveler from Guyana. So apparently this is misleading, because if we were to go by what the student is saying, the student say the cocaine carrier to Canada is a French national who boarded Caribbean Airlines flight in Trinidad. The airline made an in-transit stop. The flights, they come from Trinidad to Guyana, and then they go to North America, whether it's Canada or the US. He said the airline made an in-transit stop in Guyana, in which neither passengers nor luggage was depleted. Because when you're in transit, you're not allowed to come out. They tell you that you are to remain. So it might not be the security people at Guyana fault. So let me correct that. So if you all feel a little aggrieved, let me correct that to say, based on what the student is saying, it might not have been the fault of the Guyana Custom Anti-Narcotics or the authorities here. But as I've said, I read the article, and this article said, traveler from Guyana held in Canada gave the impression that the person traveled from Guyana. Well, you see, that is why you got to do some investigation, right? Let me bring in CC to say what he has to say on this, but the cocaine flowing. But CC, they're saying that the man did not board in Guyana. The man board in Trinidad, and the flight was in transit in Guyana. So the suggestion there is that the cocaine might have been loaded in Trinidad and found its way to Canada. What's your take?
I read this morning to another article giving the impression that it was loaded in Trinidad and not Guyana. Was you mentioned, reasonable suspicion, all these kind of boots go into Canada, just like there's somebody get caught, I think, a couple of years ago, carrying a whole set of cricket bats to England, of all places, and he wasn't a cricketer, carrying a whole set of cricket bats thing. Well, something called reasonable suspicion, And if you're a very good security person, you will observe certain things, and you could be bound to have reasonable suspicion, so which will require you to take certain course of action.
Yeah. So, apologies to the people at the immigration, well, not immigration, the security people, custom on them in Kanu, at Timeri. I did not see the correction, so apologies. It would appear that the Guyanese security people were not at fault in this case, where the cocaine was found in shoes in Canada. So let me apologize profusely to those persons. Never intended to offend. We said we come and bring you credible, valuable information. I understand the thing might have been updated last night, but that missed me, right? It missed me. So let me move on. I saw a release that it says 7 Guyanese deported from the United States. 7 Guyanese deported. And based on what I read, there was this chartered plane from the U.S. It went to other places, and it brought back 7 Guyanese who were deported from the U.S. So I see people making a comment about what should be done with them and all of that. But let me say this for the records. When I was in the force, well, let me before I go there, let me say, people say, oh, we want to know who they are, they should publish the photograph and the 2 hours other thing. Long ago when people were deported from the States, and there was criminal deportees, you got to make a distinction. Their photographs were placed and their names were placed in the newspaper, and the human rights people and other, and I supported, argued against it. The people committed a crime, yes, in the States. They served their time. When the time was finished, they are deported to Guyana. Why continue to stigmatize them? But there was a stigma attached to deportee, perhaps up to now. Stigma is attached to persons who were deported primarily from the U.S. So you have that category. And when they landed in Timeri, they were escorted to CID headquarters where their particulars were taken. They had to get next of kin and a whole set of information. And there was something in place for them to be monitored. All of those things fell through over the years. So you get a criminal deportee. And in this case, I suspect these are not criminal deportees. We don't have the details, but based on what I read, it might be people who would have violated the immigration laws of the U.S., right? So what happens is that they're going to take them there and take the record and so on. But you got to always, when I remember well, when these criminal deportees years ago were sent to Guyana, they ended up sending a man who was a Jamaican, That man was at breakdown for months. Police used to have to treat him a little favorably. He was sitting outside and they rang the place and so on. For months, the man was at breakdown. He wasn't a Guyanese, but there was some mix-up and they sent him to Guyana, right? And then there was the next deportee from the U.S. who, when he came, apparently he went to the U.S. very young. When he was deported back now, the man ain't gonna ever stay. The man lived on the seawall somewhere by the kitty roundabout there. The man lived there for some period of time. He used to pass. I used to jack by the seawall in the morning. You know that there's a deportee house. He lived with a Western house, a little cardboard thing, a flat thing, not more than about 3-4 feet off the ground. The man lived there, right? The man lived there. So, and let me tell you something. These people who are coming back, and I understand that, to use the word of a certain presidential hopeful, that was not the first tranche. That was the first tranche. We can expect with the immigration policies in the U.S. more are going to return. People call it, oh, you want to hear the name, you want to see the ethnicity and all this everything. Well, I guess at some stage somebody might leak that. But, in fairness to those people, they may have committed themselves or say they violated their visas if they had visas in the U.S. and they're sent back to Ghana. Why victimize them? Why victimize them? Or that the government has a type of support service for them. That is what we should think about. That the government should have this support service, right? But let me say this before I bring in Mr. Conway. We talk again, we can say repeatedly, this animal farm. No one was there to reach them. The media, the government media, they weren't there to reach them. Remember, not so long ago, when Odessa Primus returned, having, I think, I can't use the correct phrase, refused entry into the U.S. and decided to return to Guyana, the whole media thing, all the government media people were there at the airport waiting to see a citizen Primus return. But this time, 6 persons are sent back, and they men there to reach them. They're not there to reach them. In the case of Odessa Primus, they even went so far as to leak the image of our passport, where I think it was marked cancelled or something like that. They added on social media. This time around, you're not even hearing the name of those persons. I wonder why. I wonder why you're not hearing the names of those persons. I wonder why we're not seeing pictures of them, right? But again, perhaps it's because of the animal farm that we live in. Let me bring in Mr. Conway, man. CC, 6 Guyanese deported from the U.S. They come on charter plane. They come in style. Charter plane from the U.S. and in transit elsewhere to Guyana. Your take?
Well, partly they saved some money because they had to pay any passage. But I don't know the offenses, and I don't think we should really criminalize people. And sometimes it's a little immigration matter. They will say the time and then they were deported. But you gotta be careful if you try to criminalize persons. They ain't commit no real crime, no serious crime. And I want to know whether maybe the names of some person, maybe if they release the names, certain things might be revealed. You just don't know. But then I want to know whether or not when Halim Khan came back to this country after he had soft time, whether he was, he had the same kind of treatment. So we got to go, and now he's a justice of the peace, commissioner of votes of David, where he could sign documents and all kind of things. So, as you mentioned, animal farm, and I know animal farm well, because study animal farm for GCE. I studied animal farm for GCE and literature, and I got an A in animal farm in literature, so I know it very, very well.
Yeah, all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. George Orwell, huh? Yeah, that's what we have. But let me move on. Hey, this is not a real place, This is not a real place. Let me show you all this short video, and then we're going to comment on it on the other side. A short video I have to show you, students. And I want to hear your comment on this. This is, let me give you a running. This is an incident occurred a few days ago in Agricola on the east bank of the Marara. Look what's going on here. Look. And let me warn you, it doesn't have audio. It's just the image of the man and so on. Look at it. Let me explain to you what is being reported here. The man that you saw running there, the man running with a AR-15 type rifle, assault rifle. It is said that someone killed his brother. I think there's a wanted bulletin out for the man who is alleged to have killed his brother. And his recourse is to arm himself with an AR-15 assault rifle. He ran down the road as we saw there and shoot up the house where this suspected killer lived or lives. Shoot up the house with the AR-15. There's about 18 rounds the man fired. Imagine that. I did time as we saw. A man, the place is so lawless that one, he brother get killed. Lawless act. This man decides that the best course of action is to pick up an AR-15 rifle, run up and shoot up the house that this man lived in. And the police said, according to the release, police said that this man was arrested with the rifle. The rifle was recovered. No attempt to hide it or anything like that. He was arrested. And he's to be, I think they said he arrested for discharging a loaded firearm. People protested on the 28th of April, Adriana Young's post-mortem result. People protested. And they are charged with terrorism. Understand what we're talking about here, you know? People who protested are charged with terrorism. We got a man running down the road with an AR-15 type rifle, which is a semi-automatic assault rifle. And the man shooting up. And the man, they're telling me about discharging loaded firearm. You think Guyana is a real place? I am sure that people in the area would have been terrorized if you saw people running and all of that. This man running, people would have been terrorized. The people who lived in that house and lived nearby would have been terrorized. This is not a one shot or two shot. 18, they say, about 18 rounds or 18 bullets, if you want to put it that way, were fired in this place. And this man likely to be charged with discharging a loaded firearm. I suspect they're going to charge you too for unlawful possession and all of that. But you tell me that is not terrorism? You want to tell me that what we saw there or what they are reporting does not equate or does not amount to terrorism? People would have been terrified. All people around the area would have been terrified. But they have a different definition, I suspect, of what terrorism is. But again, I show how lawless a place is. Let me emphasize this, you know. This is an assault rifle. As they would say, when you talk about mass shootings in the United States, that's the weapon of choice, the AR-style rifle, right? Assault-type rifle. Semi-automatic rifle. Man there in the village shooting up. And that is what we have become in Guyana. That is what Guyana has become. We've seen it. Full day, daytime. You know, I want it sinking, you know. I want it sinking. It is lawlessness because the man obviously has no fear of being encountered by police or law enforcement. And you see a man running with the AR, by take him out. Man ain't got a fear. Man just pick up and decide that this is what he is going to do. And he was able to run down the road, shoot up, then run back, and maybe, I understand, he was later arrested. Luckily, apparently the man's intention was only to terrorize those in the house. Because if the man really decided to go berserk, all them people in the area there, with that type of rifle, the man could have killed multiple people. Let me bring in CC, and here CC can analyze this. CC, a man running on the road in a village just outside of Georgetown. I think, a matter of fact, is the regular greater Georgetown running out with a gun, with an assault rifle. I got to emphasize that assault rifle and shooting up. What level of lawlessness is that? Let me hear you, my brother.
The highest level of lawlessness. The highest level of lawlessness. Yes, this man with his rifle and shooting indiscriminately is a clear case of causing public terror. Without any doubt, clear among other offenses, unlawful possession of arms and ammunition, a clear case of causing public terror. Them is the charges they're supposed to give people, you know. You know, it's I can't believe it. But the cameras don't lie. Here's it without a shot, run it down the place, shoot up, and then run and gone his way. Clear case of causing public terror. Jump high, jump low.
I agree, but you know, again, because perhaps they can't find intellectual artists, so But we don't know what he's going to be charged with eventually. Let me say that. We don't know what he's going to be charged with eventually. But the release, I understand, said that he was arrested for discharging this loaded firearm. They did not even mention the unlawful possession, whether it was an unlawful possession, because I was surprised you might be surprised to know that civilians are issued that type of weapons too, you know. In Guyana, civilians are issued with assault rifles. Assault rifle. And if I remember correctly, the Firearms Act states that the only person can give permission for that is the Minister of Home Affairs. So even though the Commissioner of Police can give a pistol and revolver and shotgun and even rifle, single rifle, when it comes to assault rifles, when it comes to semi-automatic or automatic rifles, if I remember correctly, is the Minister of Home Affairs. I'm not saying that this man has a license for this firearm. They did not say if he's licensed to carry that firearm. But I'm saying that, yes, people are given that type of firearm, civilian. I was tempted to say ordinary, but you can't be ordinary and get that. People are given that type of firearm. I made the point here some time ago. I walk in the morning sometimes, and I pass, I see a security guard at a certain Chinese place. And the man posing, when I look carefully, is an AR-15 style rifle this security guard get. Who can forget when the security guard on the East Coast, the man went to his colleague and tell him some nonsense and took an AR style rifle from him and went and shoot his girlfriend, sister, twin girls. Remember the story not so long ago? It's an AR, so they think they're wrong the place. AR type rifle. Gotta say AR type, right? Type rifle, they get. So they think they are wrong. You drive around the place, you see people with AR rifle, and they want to tell you how safe this place is. And people who are visiting many times are alarmed when they see the amount of security. They want to tell you that this place is so safe. We're encouraging tourists must come. And every corner you turn, every supermarket, whether it's a Chinese supermarket, where people live with a long gun, either shotgun or some rifle or something people are there with. So how safe? Well, if you are visiting for the first time and you see that image, what people are going to think? They're going to think correctly that this is a lawless place. And when we see this incident, it's only confirm how lawless the place is. Lawless country. And they talk about traffic. They talk about it's a lawless culture. And as we've been saying repeatedly on this program, it is not easy to change a culture. And these piecemeal efforts and these band-aid, what they're doing with the traffic, it's not going to change because you're trying to change a culture. I saw a video this morning. Somebody posted on social media. Vehicles driving up. Apparently, there's some roundabout they're trying to avoid. I didn't get the full details. But instead of going around to come around the roundabout, they're driving up on the side against oncoming traffic. They're driving against oncoming. It's lawlessness. And they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear the truth. So we're going to come and we're going to tell you the truth. That is what is going on. Right? Now let me move to the next matter as we're talking about lawlessness. The one that has, we mentioned it briefly on Monday, but more details are available now. I'm talking about the killing of this man at Fowles and Moore on the East Coast, Rondell Clark. Right? Rondell Clark was shot and killed. Now up to now, they can't say definitively if it was police shooting or if it was a security shooting. So we gave them that. But Rondell Clark, we know, was shot and killed. Now, let me read the thing. Let me read what is being reported today in Stabrook News. Right? They say 4 persons, including 2 police ranks, are in custody, assisting with investigations into the shooting death on Sunday of 29-year-old Rondell Clark. Stabrook News was reliably informed yesterday that 2 police ranks are under close arrest and 2 security officers are in police custody assisting with the investigation. The post-mortem examination is expected to be conducted today. The firearms from both the security officers and the police ranks are being processed. That is what they are saying. You know what process they're talking about. Clark's family staged a small protest in front of the Covenant Police Station yesterday, calling for answers. The family is being represented by attorney at law, Dexter Todd. Clark was shot dead on 2nd Street and Moore Falls on Sunday between 7:30 and 7:45 p.m. On Monday, the police said that a 25-year-old male security officer employed with a private security was the suspect. He was arrested and was assisting with the investigations. The police statement said that the security officer's firearm was also confiscated. According to the police press release, the security officer allegedly shot Clark, who was later picked up in a conscious state by police ranks and escorted to the Georgetown Public Hospital. Upon arrival, he was admitted to the critical surgical bay. However, at approximately 8:20 p.m., he was pronounced dead. His body was taken to the Georgetown Public Hospital mortuary awaiting a postmortem examination. But in an interview with Stabrook News, Clark's family refuted a police statement after obtaining video footage which showed a police vehicle chasing behind Clark from the railway embankment through the Falls main access road as he rode his motorcycle. When Stabrook News contacted Regional Commander Assistant Commissioner Kali Pajram on Monday for a comment, he said that the investigation is on the way. Annalisa Hausner, a relative of Clark, provided an account of the events leading up to the shooting. She explained that Clark was on his way home to see his children when the police allegedly pursued him from the railway embankment. The chase continued through the Falls main access road onto 4th and 2nd Street, where Clark was allegedly shot. According to Hausner, several eyewitnesses, hear this carefully, according to Hausner, several eyewitnesses reported that police allegedly fired multiple rounds in Clark's direction shortly after he passed a Chinese supermarket, causing him to divert onto 4th Street. As Clark turned onto 4th Street, the police allegedly discharged several more rounds, one of which struck a nearby house. The incident forced the occupants of the house to seek cover under their bed for safety. Quote, eyewitnesses say that the shots were firing from the Chinese supermarket, whereby he cut through the 4th Street and they chased him, and he came through the 2nd Street, and there is where they shot him in the stomach and he passed out. They picked up the body a couple of minutes after and took him to the hospital, end of quote. Clark had in his possession a cellular phone when he was taken to the Georgetown Public Hospital by the police. According to Hausner, he was abandoned at the hospital. Doctors there could not provide details since they were not given any explanation as to what transpired. The family was told that Clark was brought to the hospital by the police rank and left in their care. He was rushed into the emergency room for treatment. However, later that night, Clark's fiancée called his phone to ask him to buy dinner, and a nurse answered the phone. Clark's fiancée then asked the whereabouts of Rondell. The nurse stated that he had been shot and was at the GPH. Hausner recounted that the nurse asked whether a relative could come to the hospital immediately. They arrived at the hospital about 21 hours. When they arrived at the hospital about 20 hours, they were told that Clark succumbed to his injuries. After visiting the hospital, Clark family went to multiple police stations, including Vigilance, Enmore, and Covanjan, only to be told that no official report had been filed. Despite this, police mentioned hearing that Clark had been shot near the Chinese supermarket. Determined to find answers, the family inquired within the village and visited the scene. At the Chinese supermarket, residents explained that the security guards there did not carry firearms, while others indicated that Clark was shot on 2nd Street. The family searched the area thoroughly but found no evidence until a police vehicle passed through and stopped at the spot where the incident occurred. When the family questioned Officer Ross, who exited the vehicle, about whether Clark was being pursued, the officer denied it. However, video footage later revealed that the police vehicle was indeed chasing Clark, who was riding a motorcycle at the time. Clark family then returned to the Covanjan police station for further clarification and met with Assistant Commissioner Kali Pajram, who said that they, the police, learned about the incident through a 911 call. The parents were then asked to give statement. We were, quote, we are demanding answers. And then we had like a semi-protest. And then they agreed for the prince to make a report. That is what is being reported. Now I have several questions to ask. But before I ask those questions, CC, I'm going to ask CC to come in and make his comment. This is what has been reported. A young man, 29 years old, Rondell Clark, shot and killed. We, as I said, they're claiming that some security guard shoot. Now the people saying evidence and video contradicting what the police said. Because the police said they never chased this man. But then the video, I saw the video where the man was being chased. Right? I even got so far to see I was able to recognize the number, the license plate number of the vehicle that was chasing him. And they deny that they chasing, evidence come to contradict them, man did. Two police, remember they said they ain't chasing, but now they're telling us that two ranks are under close arrest and two security guards are arrested in relation to the same matter. CC, explain this to our students, man.
Well, initially the police, or in the 54th state, a state of denial. They saying they didn't chase this man when video footage showed that they were chasing. Statements from residents that the police discharged several rounds. I know the security guard coming the place, I wonder where he was and what he was getting and kind of what kind of weapon did he have. Was it AR-15 yen? Did they have a .38 revolver? What kind of weapon they got? Or was it a shotgun? And this thing would by long. I don't know if they found any spent shell. Is another story. But did they swab the arms of those policemen there to see whether they had fire any weapons? Did they swab the arm of the security guard? And then again, if the security guard shot, is he a supernumerary constable? Is he precepted? Was he trained in the use of the firearm that he was carrying? So much, or was he in uniform? Because according to the act, that the security, they gotta be dressed in uniform and they gotta carry a badge and then they have badge or that they gotta be in uniform unless they always get permission from the commissioner put by see the dressing anyhow, and you want to know whether they're security or bandit. But coming back to the story, the police there, they're not credible. And you don't know how to believe them. And then they do any canvassing. Sometimes you gotta go house to house and check people. People might see there, people might know what's going on, but they're not going to no police station. They're waiting for the police come and somebody say, "Here, this is the story, but don't call me name, and that will give you a lead so that you walk." But they're not canvassing anything from the beginning. They jump in the 54th state, a state of denial, and now they're hustling to bring up bits and pieces that two men under arrest. You know how much people are under close arrest? Some people under close arrest since last year, and you hear nothing but it. For the matter of 400 and something days, the one who shot who shot this sergeant 400 something days he under close arrest. So you really can't believe the police. They're not credible. They're not credible, and we have lost confidence in the police. And when a great thing, you gotta take it with a whole bucket of salts, before you can really believe what it's saying.
And we talk about credibility, and you see, this is where credibility comes in. The police, at this stage, are not credible. Let me be honest about it. When they come with these reports, they have a corporate propaganda unit that tells you all kind of lies, and therefore that is part of the problem. So when you come to tell the public that the police were not chasing this man, and then video surfaced shortly after to see this man riding on a motorcycle and police pursuing him at pursuit. Then they claim that is a security guard shoot. But now two police ranks are under close arrest to the same shooting. That erodes whatever little credibility they have left. And they don't have, well, I don't think they have any left. Because they tell too many lies when this incident comes up. But let me tell you this. I was a police commander. So was Mr. Conway. And when I was commander in A Division, the largest division, Jartrong, East Bank, part of East Coast at the time, when I was in command of Region B Division, East and West Berbice, we had incidents, shooting incident, fatal shooting incidents, right? And I remember one in particular when I was in Berbice, a man was shot and killed, a prisoner was shot and killed somewhere in Hampshire on the quarantine, right? And a news outlet from Berbice called me, a gentleman from a news outlet called me and asked me about it. And I told him, I said, well, look, because they had briefed me, I said, this is the brief that I got, right? But I have got to investigate. I said, I'm not saying this is the brief that I got. Because they told me that the man attacked the police with a bottle and the man was shot and killed. So I then called back the gentleman from the news outlet and said, this is what they said. The man said, look, they're lying. The man said, Commander, they're lying. I know they're misleading you. I said, well, I wouldn't doubt you. What evidence that you have that they're lying? The man said, look, I'm going to come to the office. The man came to my office at New Amsterdam there. The man brought a photograph of the deceased man, lying in the mortuary at Port Moran with handcuff. There's a handcuff on his hand, handcuff. When you investigate, the man was handcuffed when the police shot him and he died. Now, panic stepped in because they hadn't any handcuff key. So they took the man to the hospital. Of course, I don't think he died on the spot. So they took him to the hospital with the handcuff, right? And somebody passed, they got a picture. And the man brought it to me. The man said, I'm bringing this to you because I know they are misleading you, right? And I said, thank you very much. And the bottom line is that when the matter comes, the police get charged, I think, for manslaughter or something. Because I tell them, I am covering them things them though. Let me understand it clearly. We're not covering that. And let me make the point again. There are circumstances under which the police will be justified in using deadly force. The law, the orders and the law is clear. There are circumstances where the police can use deadly force. But it seems to me now that those things are not maintained. The police are not taught that. Because the first question I want to ask in this matter, why were they chasing this man? Forget about the denial. The evidence is there that they chased him. Why were they chasing him? First question. Why was he being pursued? That is one of the things they have to answer. What did he do to cause them on this big chase through the village? Then the next thing I want to know, where were the security guards who were, whether the security guards were armed? People saying that the security guards at this place don't get armed. They said 2 security guards. Were they from the same establishment? Or were they from nearby? Because normally we see is one security, there's be private security. And if it is that this was an armed security guard, what type of firearm was he armed with? Was he armed with a revolver, a pistol, a shotgun, which is in most things, or a rifle? Because we have seen them with all those types of firearm, pistol, shotgun, rifles. What firearm? What type of firearm the security guard was armed with, right? And then Mr. Conway asked the same question. If you're going to deal with the shooting, one of the things you would have got to do, the security guards and the police, you would have to do a gunpowder test, a gunpowder residue test. Because nobody is going to admit that they shoot. Apparently, they ain't chasing, they're going to say they ain't shoot neither. So there's part of the initial part of the investigation, the arms and the clothes that they had on would have been seized as part of that and put in the evidence bag as part of the process. Did they do that? It doesn't appear so, because they start out from the jump start to try to cover up. So those basic things would not have been done. Because when I tell you a fireman, say, well, it's not all of the people who've been in there, all the firearms should have been seized. And not only the firearms you seize, I'm telling you about investigation now. You're not only seizing the firearms, but you're seizing the records who would have uplifted what firearm, because at the end of this post-mortem examination, which they say should be done today, one would expect that they might recover the bullet or the warhead. And then you have to do ballistic tests to link it to a particular firearm. Then you're going to go back in the record to see who was issued with this particular firearm. I'm telling you how they all work, because enough of them sit down there, they're dunce. They don't want to learn. Because the fact that everybody denying, this got to be linked, a strong link on ballistic. And I hope that recover the bullet, we just call them the warrior, the bullet that would have entered his body, the fatal bullet. Because again, if you remember with the Quindon Bacchus killing, right, 3 years ago yesterday, when the postmortem was done, I saw that report. And I was shocked that they didn't find any projectile, any bullet, any warhead in that body. But yesterday I went there and charged people. I was shocked. Because he had multiple gunshot wounds. And the postmortem report that I saw did not indicate anything like that. They tell you how the bullet entered and how the bullet exit, but no, at no stage did I see. So this is not the same type of bullet they fired on this and killed this gentleman, Clark. On Sunday, these bullets that once it remains in the body for a length of time, it tends to dissolve, because that is what seems to happen. That is what seems to happen. So again, firearms, all the firearms should have been seized. The people should have been swapped for gunpowder residue. The clothes that they had on should have been taken and as evidence, because that too is likely to have evidence that the person fired. That too is likely to have evidence that the person's fired. The next thing, they said, according to the residents, hear what they said. This is how you're doing investigation, right? According to Hausner, several eyewitnesses reported to police allegedly fired multiple rounds in Clark's direction. Shortly after he passed. And then the police allegedly discharged several more rounds. So they're saying enough rounds fired then. Have they charged that area thoroughly to try to recover spent shells? Because one has to assume that they were firing semi-automatic weapons. Semi-automatic. And if it was a fire revolver, then when the revolvers returned to the station, the empty casings would have been there to show that these weapons were in fact fired. So, beyond hearing, of course, we don't expect them to tell you all that they have done, but one would expect that is key to this whole investigation. Empty shells would have been searched for, and given the number of rounds we fire, you must find one or two casings. What happened to the ranks when they returned to duty? Returned from duty. They would have uplifted firearm with a certain number of ammunition. What happened when they returned? Were they short? And if so, what explanation did they give for returning short amount of ammunition? I don't know. I say, but I told you all before that don't worry with this number of ammunition necessarily. Because man will go out and shoot. You issue with, let me say 10. You go out to shoot 5, and he's still lodging 10. Still lodging 10. So that's why you got to do all them tests, right? All of the tests, right? Then, as I said, thoroughly check for spent shell, right? Thoroughly check. That's part of basic information, right? Basic information. And as I've said, the PM can be critical evidence there, that bullet, to determine. And that is providing a proper ballistic test is done. Providing a proper ballistic test, because the bullet that is recovered from the body, assuming that the bullet is recovered, ballistics will be able to show the firearm that discharged that bullet. And then your records will be able to show who was issued with that firearm. Easy, straightforward. Straightforward. But again, how can you rely? That is the problem when we talk about people being reliable and transparent. That is the problem. Because I suspect whatever they come up with, people are going to try to dispute it because you have no credibility. That is the problem with lacking of credibility. And you know, it's sad because I suspect in many cases, people do proper, diligent policing work. But what? You have a bad reputation. The organization has a bad reputation. And when people talk bad about police, they don't single out necessarily and say this police or that police. They say police. They paint everybody with the same brush. And that is why I said when I was in the force, I used to deal with corruption, incompetence, constantly, because people can blame Halloween. They say police, the thief, police that take bribe. They're going to single out any particular man and say, well, it can take $8.5 million. No. Maybe in this case they might. But generally they put a broad brush on the things, the police. Right? And that is why I say to those honest police, because they still have honest police, still have hard-working police. You have got to stand for truth and right and justice. It's not easy. It's not easy, right? But you have to stand for truth, right, and justice. Don't compromise your principles. You see things, talk about it, right? Let them know that you're not a part of that. Because if you stay silent, silence is complicity. You stay silent, you see something wrong, I decide to stay silent, you are part of it. You are part of it. You know, the next thing, only recently, I make a big noise. The president and all them make big noise. Police issued with over 5,000 body cameras. More body cameras than men in the force. So therefore, one can expect that almost every policeman, at least on duty, should get a body camera. So what happened to the body cameras Sunday night? Were they policemen on duty? Were they not armed, or did they not possess body cameras? It's mind-boggling, because when I make these big fancy statements and so on to fool people, this is the proof of the pudding. Because if you have all this body cam for transparency and all of that, then the fact that the police were chasing ought to be there recording. If you shoot all these things, you should get evidence. The evidence should be there. But you tell people that you give 5,000 body cameras to help with transparency and to reduce corruption. Now you got a fatal shooting. And it would appear, you haven't spoken about it yet, that none of these police ranks who was there wearing body camera. So you can have a picture you can have as to exactly what transpired, right? Then, before I bring in Mr. Conway, because even yesterday, when the attorney and them were there at the site by Covan John, I heard them talking a statement. Yes, every single person all these people said they heard police shooting and they saw this. And I read an earlier article where people were in a house and some little girl, it sounded like scream, telling she mother it sounded like scream. Then they realized it wasn't scream. They look out, they see police shooting. They hide under the bed. All these people got to give statements. They should be asked to give statements. But here, let me tell you something. Given what is going on, it would appear that those police sitting back and say, bring them to the station, let me get statement from them. No, that is not the way it should be done. There's no requirement for police to take the statement. The people should be expected to provide the police with a statement. But they can get anybody, the liar or somebody they know who they trust, to take a proper statement from them. And that should be handed over to the police. Police are not, it doesn't mean that the police got to put them to sit down and then take the statement, because the people, sometimes they don't trust the police. They don't want to say certain things. They don't want to say certain things. And therefore, to ask them to go to the police station, because there's a trend there, police don't go to a person's residence or place of work to take a statement. You come to the police station. And people complain many times when they go to the station. They tell you the investigating rank is not here. You got to wait or you got to come back at some stage. But yes, statements are very, very important. So I would say to the people in the community who saw an heard thing, give statement. And here, let me tell you all this, I've been saying this to police for years, right? Statement can get hearsay, right? When you're taking statements, you take everything what the body tell you, right? Let me understand. My training was statement and get hearsay. Somebody hears, somebody says something, it leads you. You can't use it just like that in court, right? But at least it guides the investigation. It leads you in a particular direction. But I make this point because I was shocked when some years ago I read can't remember exactly the matter, but I read and people talking about somebody tell you something in a statement. Somebody told me something in a statement. That's not my teaching. You say what the person tell you, what the person told you. You can't go in the box and give it just like that, but the skilled prosecutor will know to navigate around that. Because again, I say, somebody commented here a few weeks ago, oh, that AC is not acceptable. That is rubbish. That is rubbish. The law is, as a general rule, hearsay evidence is not accepted as a general rule, but there are several exceptions to the hearsay rule. I got something here with it. I'm going to look and find it and read it to you. There are several exceptions to the hearsay rule. I remember in training school, they used to tell you about dying declaration as an exception to the hearsay rule. When I did prosecutor schools way back when, an Ian Chan lecture, they tell you about res gestae as an exemption to the hearsay rule. So there are exemptions. So I've said on this program before to the young policemen, don't let people come and tell you, oh, hearsay evidence is not acceptable. There are exceptions to the rule. So tell me, or you should be told, that as a general rule, as a general principle, hearsay evidence is not going to be accepted. But there are exceptions to the hearsay rule. Let me bring in Mr. Conway, and then I'm going to come back and tell you something more about this. CC, let me hear you on all that we have said so far.
And you're correct, you know. As a general rule, there are exceptions to the hearsay rule. You mentioned about res gestae. I remember Ian Chang talking about res gestae, Compton Richardson talking about res gestae, and things were recent complaint made by persons in sexual offenses, not to show they believe the story, but to show consistency of conduct and a whole lot of exception to the hearsay rule. But coming back to the point, you know, the investigation, the way we call canvassing. I remember Commissioner Winston Felix, when there is an unsolved murder or solved crime, first thing he asks you, did you canvass the area? And if you didn't canvass, you're in trouble. He said, go there and talk to people who even gotta go house to house and talk to people. He said, people are there. People see, people are, and they're waiting and the police come. Enough police must call them and go to the station. You go to them. And he said some people, and I prove it, some people might not want to give you any written statement, but they would give you the information and they tell you, hey, don't call me name. And sometimes there is the lead that you need. There is the lead that they call you to solve the case. But police don't go anywhere. Canvass the area. It teaches house to house. Go and ask people. People will talk. But no, then again, oh no, we're waiting for people to come to you. You don't wait for people to come. People don't want to go to the station. You have to go to them if you want to solve crime. And that's how it had to be. But no, they're waiting for people to come. And also people who give written statements, just make sure that you read over. Make sure you sign what up on the statement. Because police will say one thing when you tell them one thing and they write something else. So you got to be careful that you read every line, that you read every sentence, and make sure that when you sign to, that is what you said. Because police just swing wrong story. And more so now, this present crop of police, they are not credible. And they do all kind of things. So I'm saying, read over your statement before you sign. And if possible, get a copy of your statement for reference. So I'm saying a lot of canvases need to be done.
Yeah. You know the investigation, as Mr. Conway rightly said. People will tell you things they don't want to go on the record and give you an official statement. We're going to tell you, and that points you in a particular direction, and you get a crime solved in that manner. And you know, in some cases, we have emphasized here, in some cases, you take a negative statement. What is a negative statement? A person say, well, me and no, me and see. All right, let me get that in writing. So that later on, when they come and suddenly they see and all of that, you have something there to discredit them. It happens a lot. They don't see, they're here. And then when they somebody got to them and influenced them in some way through money or anything like that, then suddenly they remember and they want to come forward. You're not going to refuse to take it, but you get to see that at the earlier stage, when things should have been fresher in the memory, they said they didn't know and then see. But now, couple days, couple weeks, couple months down the road, they suddenly remember, then you are suspicious as to their motive. That is how you do proper investigation. But again, I say, like, these things are not taught now to these policemen. So that's why we're going to come on this platform, because we know a lot of policemen are on this platform. Either live, some of them are afraid to be live, but what they do is that they go back, the program is on YouTube, and they are going to listen and they are going to learn. And as we have said repeatedly, what we say on this thing, if you don't believe, go and follow up. We tell you about the references and so on. Go and check for yourself. Go and check for yourself, right? Go and check for yourself. Now, they got the next matter I want to deal with. It has been putting it off and putting it off. You got a lot of stuff to talk about, We have to balance this thing carefully. We haven't spoken yet on Monday. We weren't able to go into this Adriana Young's thing in any great detail. Don't believe that it's off. It is not going to go off. Not going to go off. We have other issues in relation to this. The police officer who is sanctioned, dying coming off the radar too. Well, let me, since that we haven't spoken about Adriana Young's matter in any great detail on Monday, I think we should talk about it now to keep it on the front burner. Let me talk about it now, because I see what is the current status as far as I am aware. The second postmortem was done in Georgia. The pathologist said there that she would not rule, she can't at that stage say that the cause of death is drowning. I understand that she has asked many, many, many questions. Some people say about 100 questions. She wants to see the first autopsy report and many things, because she said drowning, the diagnosis of drowning is by exclusion. You have to exclude all other things. She did say too that a comprehensive criminal investigation should be conducted. Because what we all saw, and despite what all are saying and the gaslighting and the trolling, I maintain from the circumstantial evidence that child could not have died in the pool, could not have drowned in that pool. Now we understand it clearly, and they could come back and show them the circumstantial evidence, which is there for all to see. Because at one time she was there in the pool. Other children were in the pool. Adults were nearby. This pool is not an Olympic-sized pool. It's a fairly, relatively small pool. When she was seen in the picture, she was standing in an area. They say she's about 5 feet something. So she's fairly tall, right? Standing. Let me assume for argument's sake, this is what I want to tell us. Let's assume for argument's sake, this child found herself in difficulties in this water and drowned. Wait, no alarm was raised. No, none of the children there didn't see Adriana struggling. The adults weren't there to see that Adriana struggling. So how the heck, let me say this. Folks, sometimes when this program is going on, I am sorry that I'm in some rum shop or a bar where I can really express myself and use the vernacular, right? But on this program now, I'm not going to make use of the vernacular, right? But sometimes I am challenged to express myself in the manner that I really want to express myself. When they're going to come and tell you that the child died in the pool, or when they get this fraud from Canada to come and tell you that if a proper search had been done by people with proper equipment, they might have been able to discover the body. Imagine that. A pool, the deepest 8 feet, people around, and this fraud, this charlatan suggesting that a proper search was not done because people weren't professional and they hadn't the necessary equipment to search. So he's suggesting that unless you had scuba gear and so on, you couldn't search properly 8 foot, the deepest part, 8 feet, for a child who they claim drunk. So I am convinced from the circumstantial evidence, the child did not die there. And the question is being asked, what next? Because the police done, The police done with the investigation, notwithstanding the fact that the second autopsy said that a comprehensive investigation should be done. I am of the opinion that the police done with them. They don't care because the government position is that let me get this thing over with, move on, business as usual. But it's for us, the members of the public, if we want to accept that. It's for us if you want to remain silent. Having regards to such a horrific thing that happened to that child. So the child then died. Again, I say, despite what the corporate communication the people say, who ain't get comprehension, I had never disputed that the child may have drowned. From the outset, I say the experts said drowned. Maybe yes, she did drown. I ain't disputing that. Where did she drown? That is the question I keep asking. They can't answer that. But to tell me or to tell any sensible person that that child drowned in the pool, all we and stupid like what Jack do you believe? To tell us that the child, I said, let's you should drown, right? Right? And there, I see somebody saying there an inquest should be done. Let me address that. Before I bring him, let me address that. You don't hold an inquest until and unless a proper investigation, criminal investigation is conducted. An inquest does not replace a criminal investigation. Let me understand it clearly. Let me understand it clearly. In doing police work, a matter like this, you do proper investigation, criminal investigation, because there's a lot of circumstantial evidence to suggest that a crime would have been committed. So you do all of that. And when you do all of the proper criminal investigation, at the end of the day, if you can't identify the suspect or anything like that, then and only then the file goes, and then the DPP might recommend an inquest, which is not frequently held in Guyana in any case. But let me say this too. This matter is such a complicated matter. In some cases, some parts are complicated. So you're going to hold an inquest. The inquest is going to deal with the cause of the fire. Fire service says arson. And those of us who are looking and following this matter, we agree that the place was arson. But who caused the fire? Clearly not the demonstrators, as we saw. When the fire started, based on what we saw on the videos, the person or a person who was closest to where the smoke started to come from was a police. This is a policeman. No alarm raised or anything like that. Policeman casually walking down out of the room and down the stairs. That is suspicious. So who can investigate that part? You want an inquest to investigate the cause of the fire? The division commander lied to the public when he said that the child was seen in a vehicle heading in the direction east towards Vidano. Lie, clearly lie. Next morning, they lie again and said the child was some bush shed and they should go there. Who will investigate that? An inquest? To investigate that aspect too? Amar was arrested. Orlando arrested on suspicion of abducting this child. Kept at the police station all day, then subsequently released. You think an inquest is going to inquire into that too? Well, you see the common, they throw these things here, I see the court in law and all sort of thing. Well, it's not easy like that. Yes, there is the Coroner's Act which talks about an inquest, but policemen are expected to do a thorough, comprehensive criminal investigation. The inquest does not replace the criminal investigation, the initial criminal investigation. And in this case, no proper criminal investigation was done. Some of the same people who were there and neglected the duty on the 23rd of April by not having that place searched, by not taking the proper action, including the commander, right? Some of them are the ones who they claim do the investigation. How that? How that? How is that possible? So, yes, I say they want the thing closed because this thing there over there, and they want to talk about elections. This is a matter they know that has gained international attention, and they don't want it to continue talking about it. So they're going to come with all kind of things to throw us off track. But we are going to continue to talk about it because I maintain, and they came out the other day and they attacked me and all sort of thing. I said, I maintain that this is murder. I maintain from the circumstantial evidence, right, that the child did not die in the pool. Strong circumstantial evidence. And people who know about law enforcement, people who have little legal training, people who have common sense and who saw the videos and saw the still photographs and so on, will tell you that the child could not have died. Again, I say, how could this child have drowned in this pool when, without anybody noticing, when other children were there, adults were in close proximity? Wait, you want to tell me this child just disappeared below this pool and drowned? You did not raise any alarm and all of that? And then they sent in the critic the night of the 23rd. And his video, when he walked it through, let me show you all it, man. Let me show you all. I want give no second or nothing. Look, listen to it. Look, what is yourself?
And as
Watch.
you can see, you see the pool here clear. Like when the family said they went in the pool and check, everybody went in the pool and check. Normally, you ain't got to check if there's a body in this pool. You could see it because the pool is clear, right? So, obviously the young lady, the 11-year-old who has gone missing from this place is not in this pool.
I never thought I would believe what critics say. Not in the pool. That is the night of the 23rd. And then the next day, on the morning of the 24th, this body surfaced. And evidence suggests that the body was placed there. The body was placed there. And they want to tell us otherwise. The body was placed there. And then this man who came to say that he assisted, that is what he said. Man stay in some hotel, read some statement and say this investigation was properly done. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Let me bring in Mr. Conway, man. Let me bring in CC. CC, this thing where they want to go away, they want to sweep it under this carpet. This murder of this child, Adriana Young. But you know, the second postmortem was done. The doctor said what she had to say. I saw one of the comments here that somebody is saying that the funeral is likely to be on Friday. That is not confirmed, as far as I'm aware. What is your take on this, man?
The police screw up big time, Paul. What we know is that the police did not maintain the crime scene and protect evidence. That the police did not note all conditions, events, and remarks. That the police did not arrange for the searching of the scene and identifying evidence. They didn't do any kind of meticulous investigation, no painstaking investigation. And they brought a man from Canada, what I was told, a retired sergeant who was inactive. Retired sergeant who was inactive. It's a mystery how he was selected. I listened to a tape by where they're interviewing the Attorney General on social media. And here is part of what they answer. I will read. The regional component of the regional police force here in the Caribbean, when I asked, well, who selected him? He said, the regional component of the regional police force. Who is the regional police force here in the Caribbean? I think recommended gentleman. I think recommended gentleman. He went on to say, the government doesn't know the person. He was recommended from the Caribbean itself. Here again, he said, I think he may have done some work in the region before. Let me go over. The government doesn't know the person. He was recommended. He was recommended from the Caribbean itself. I think he may have done some work in the region before. That's what the Attorney General is saying, that the regional police force recommended. Who is the regional police force? And he think was recommended. And he think that he may have done some work in the region. And he don't know the person. This is a man come, watch some statements, watch some videos, and come and say the police did an excellent work. Despite all the shortcomings. Despite all the shortcomings. And if you're going to talk about an inquest, you have to do a proper investigation. A meticulous investigation. A painstaking investigation. You have to do that so that you can recommend an inquest. And an inquest really is to find out if somebody was criminally responsible, persons was criminally responsible for the death of Adriana Young. That's what an inquest thing there. But you have to do the proper investigation. And like the police done with it, they read a report of that quack from Canada, and they say, there's it, they're done with it. And up to now, they ain't sent no report anywhere. No report and gone anywhere we hear but anything. I don't know what they waiting for. And Paul, let me go back to I did management of that investigation and my theme. The theme, put your teeth between your tongue, put the tongue between your teeth. And he will say, no greater honor will ever be bestowed on an officer or a more profound duty on him than when he is entrusted with the investigation of the death of a human being. It is his duty to find the facts, regardless of color or creed, without prejudice, and let no power or deter him from presenting the facts to the court without regards to personality. And this is whether you're doing it with a suicide, whether you're doing a homicide, whether you're doing an accidental death, whether it's a natural or determined, that you must let no power on earth deter you from presenting the facts to the court without regard to personality. All they're doing, they're trying to cover up and cover up and cover up. And it's incredible. And we can't forget where they say they get tape. That little girl join a vehicle. They give the vehicle number. Give the vehicle number. They give the name, the color of the vehicle, the name of the registered owner, and say the girl gone with the vehicle. And I listened to the Attorney General on his interview. And when they asked him about that, he said the police act on a tip. And where does tip come from? This tip come from the belly of the beast, from deep within the police, from the police command center, kind of thing. The police commander says she gone with a vehicle. And then when questioned, there's some civilian working there, yeah, typing the wrong date. So you're saying on a previous date, she had joined that same vehicle? On a previous date, she was seen at breathing up on other places? Yeah? That's what they give us. All was diversion tactics. All was cover-up tactics. And then again, the commander was there, the assistant commissioner was there. In labor time, he find himself there. Why the 2IC wasn't there? Why the subdivision officer wasn't there? Why were the person in charge of the station, but the commander himself gone there? What really he got to do? The commander himself? When he could have been at that office and did direct investigation from there. Send the 2IC, send the subdivision officer, send the station sergeant, send the detective, but no, he there down there. Did he go there to protect people? Did he go there to cover up? And then he tell him, hey, you are go along your way. You are go along your way because the girl not in the place there, you know. They is telling the people, you know. Cover up and cover up. There's it from deep from in the belly. They get information that she gone she way. Give a description of the vehicle number. Give a description and talk about who the owner and everything there. And then the Attorney General saying that they work on a tip. And the tip come from in the belly of the beast. How could we believe them? How could they be credible? When the Attorney General line, the President line, the Commander line, and then even the crime chief and all line, you know. So they're not credible. And more of the, you know, I got a little work up. So let me remain quiet for the while.
Yeah, it's something to get work up. This is an 11-year-old child that was killed. And to see the level of cover-up that is taking place. And the question is always asked, why are they covering up? They start to cover from the get-go. From the very day when this child went missing, the 23rd of April 2025, the afternoon of the 20th, the cover-up started. And remember what the president said? The president said, let me read what he's reported to have said. I have asked the Commissioner of Police to assemble a special team to lead the investigation into all circumstances surrounding 11-year-old Adriana Young. We must uncover the full truth of everything that transpired, and no resource or effort will be spared in doing so. Whatever specialized resources are required to determine every aspect of the events and circumstances will be provided. Additionally, I've asked the police to explain in detail every action taken since the matter was reported Like the rest of the country, I stand with the family at this time of extreme grief. That is a statement that is said to have been made by the president. He asked the commissioner of police to assemble a special team to lead the investigation into all circumstances. So it's not only the death where you say if you call it an inquest, the inquest can determine the actual cause of death, and as Mr. Conway pointed out quite correctly, who was criminally responsible, if at all anyone was criminally responsible. It is more than that. As the president said then, a special team to lead the investigation into all the circumstances surrounding 11-year-old Adriana Young, all the circumstances, which includes the covering up, which includes the misleading statement that she was seen going in some car, which would include the next day when they claim that she was some bus shed, right? Which includes the file where we saw someone who's alleged to be a policeman seem to be the last man coming from the area where the fire started. They talk about the weapons, man. All of those things should be revealed. And to get this quack from Canada come on a paid vacation, take me money, sit down in some hotel, and then decide. And the man said, so, just to show you how incompetent this man is. The man said, well, let me back up there. We don't know the terms of the contract that this man was given. So for all you know, the man satisfied the terms of his contract. Come to review. But they misled us by saying he come to assist. Reviewing and assisting is two different things. Because if you're going to assist, then you got to be foot to foot and examine statement, perhaps go to the crime scene. That is assistance. But if you're going to sit in a hotel room and review statements that are presented to you, that is assisting. I know how you can classify that as assisting. Then that's what the man said. They presented over 400 pages of statement to him, along with other stuff. And then based on that, he decided that this thing was properly investigated. This man never mentioned, as far as we know, because again, I'm saying that we have not seen the report that this man is said to have made or submitted. We have not seen it. The man has not said a word. So I don't know if the terms of his contract, right, carry a non-disclosure clause, meaning that he can't talk. We don't know. He has not said anything. What we're hearing is that the police saying he said, the line police saying that this man said. So we can't know if the man in fact said so. But the man, this man told us that he did this thing. The man talking about this body from the Lenora Cottage Hospital. How did the body reach to the Lenora Cottage Hospital? The body was found at the Doubleday pool at Tuition. You want to tell me you're not going to address that part in any report? At least to say that the body should have been kept there until the initial medical examination and the crime scene people take out photographs and all this everything, right? Hold on, see a comment there, sir? Hold on, yeah. We are criticizing the investigator from Canada because the report that is alleged to have been submitted by him is bullshit, put it mildly. Because you can't sit in an hotel room and say people presented 400 pages to you and then come to those conclusions. That is not assisting. That is not how an investigation is done. Not as far as we are aware to, nothing mentioned over the fact that the commander was trying to get the people to move away from the scene from the night of the 23rd. That they gave false statement to say that the girl was seen at some bus shed the next morning. He endorsed all of those false and corrupt acts. This Canadian charlatan, right? So how can you say that you should not? We are attacking. We making it clear that what he is revealing there, even Ray Charles can see that is crap he talking. Then the man said, right? The man said that the one of the things, the side me and get it to read. Well, we haven't done with it. We're gonna come back with it. That he's suggesting that if professional people had searched the pool with the right equipment, maybe the body could have been for professional people. So you want to tell me, let's assume for argument's sake that this child drowned and sank in this pool. The deepest part being 8 feet. This charlatan from Canada suggesting to us that you have to get professional people with proper equipment in order to be able to find this body. That is what this man telling us. Again, I said, Jack, you said, guy, and I get a lot of stupid people. We here, and well, one or two of you, because I see you got a troll come up there. So maybe he's numbered among those stupid people. Well, how can you believe that? One man commented today, so his sources in Canada to the Mounted Desk Police. A judge remarked that. I saw that remark from a judge. A judge remarked to say that this man was a desk police with little field experience. And they come to tell us he's the best thing in Canada since sliced bread. Best thing in Canada. And then Nanlal come to tell us, oh, as Mr. Carver said, some Caribbean regional, from the time he was on Caribbean Tea, I listened to part of the thing. And when they broccoli with the question as to how they got to know this man and so on, you'll see brain gone into overdrive, like when the name Sue was mentioned to Jack Dio. Brain gone into overdrive. So some Caribbean royal thing bring the man, and he think the man did similar in where lie. It's lie, you can't lie. My information here is someone of the supporters in Canada who must know the man, recommended the man to them. The man has little field experience. That's what the judge said. It's not we attacking, we revealing what is being said. We just do research, We just do the research. A judge in Canada remarked in a case that this man, Leonard McCushion, right, was a desk officer with little field experience. Now, if you want to tell me that we're wrong, come by now. You have to be able to reach to the Canadian Mounted Police for them to give us the man resume, how more the investigation he did, and all of that. You telling us that this man is such an outstanding career. Let the RMCP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, let them support that. To say, yes, this man was one of our best, and he did that many more the investigation, and perhaps they can highlight, name one or two to see where this man is such outstanding detective. And it's a cock man they bring to the thing. The man, well, he cock them. He cocking we with the report what they're saying that the man give. The guy, the thing. Let me bring him Mr. Conway, man. Conway, RCC, let me hear you a little more on this matter, and then you could get your close at the same time, because I got some things to start. Maybe I can bring you back, but let me hear you, man.
Yeah, let me stay upon this man, This man, I can't imagine that they're going to bring a retired sergeant and all he sit down, I got to repeat it, and say check out 400 pages and look at some video and saying that the police did excellent work. The police never locked down the scene, and they did excellent work. Never locked down the scene, never looked for evidence, and they did excellent work. The police lie that the girl gone somewhere, and they did excellent work. And they do no proper investigation. And this investigation is not only criminal, there be some disciplinary matters involving that same the assistant commissioner. And if you're going to do disciplinary matters, eventually he got to be a deputy commissioner. He got to be Watts. He got to be Blanham. He got to be McBean, Budram, or Karen Bash or someone them to investigate that part of it in accordance with the Police Discipline Act. Because the Police Discipline Act say every alleged commission or breach of discipline shall be investigated as soon as practicable by a member of the force not below the rank of a sergeant and of a higher rank than the rank who is alleged to have committed the offense. So there are disciplinary issues there. We inherit nothing but that. And I tell you, hey, that the man that the assistant commissioner gone on administrative leave, that the police service commission, the dead police service commission, the term expire, they resurrect them and they make them talk. Then they got talk that they send them up on thing there. A dead police service commission, the term, the 3 years expire. And then the government, the Ministry of Affairs, the police were quoted that Mandel gone on administrative leave on the order of the Police Service Commission that expired, the term done, the dead, dead. But perhaps they resurrected them just to come and say that we send this man upon administrative leave, and then they must bury them, or they must cremated them too. You know, that's what we're going on. You know, and that is what they want us to believe. No proper investigation done. We're calling again for a good, intensive investigation, meticulous investigation, not only criminally, but departmentally under the Police Discipline Act. There are many issues and concerns. And in closing, I still about my financial statement. The investigation into the multi-million dollar financial fraud at the region number 1, where people sign bogus accounts, $900,000, $600,000, $500,000, all in compliance with the police finance office. The department started and they stopped. And then fuel smuggling still going on. In the allegations, fuel smuggling going on in region number 1, and cocaine smuggling going on in region 1. And here the police still get 157 pounds of cocaine that they didn't declare, and they're waiting for a market. Shake up region 1, shake up region 1, and then go to other regions. We hear but sir, we hear the US sanctioning, but things still are happening. They get early warning. Work on the early warning, but a lot of people involved. The allegation that the former Region 1 commander used to collect for a big one. Used to collect US for a very big one, a top one. So I'm saying do the proper investigation, the financial, the drug smuggling that is continuing, and the fuel smuggling that is rampant. And by the way, police had a big vessel in the Winey Point there, a vessel named Tamike to prevent smuggling, to prevent smuggling, and to prevent crimes from committing by Venezuelans and others. Tamike is supposed to be the mouth there somewhere in the Winey Point. I wonder what happened with it. I wonder if it's still there. I wonder if they still get them men there. I think it was a giant operation. The Tamike. I wonder if it's still there in that area.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you. But let me say this. When you talk about the Police Service Commission, the life ended, and then they come and lie to the United States and other people to say, well, the Police Service Commission acted on this sanction matter and sent Shah on administrative leave. As you pointed out, maybe they resurrected a dead commission. So maybe they're practicing for the next election, because remember, the last election, they were accused, a lot of dead people and people who are not in Guyana voted. So maybe they're taking early practice. And let me put up a comment here from one of the trolls, We can indulge you for today. I can indulge you for today. They're in a good mood. See what the troll say. He said, both of you, first of all, you didn't even know the language. He said, both of you is retired, but you still know everything. We take that as a compliment. Rick, that is a compliment to say that we have retired, except that you're bad grammar. But we're taking it as a compliment to say that we have retired, and we always admitted we know everything. But we know more than a lot of these jokers around, in the force and in the government when it comes to law enforcement. We are proud to say that. So yeah, we retired. We don't know everything, but we're saying that when it comes to law enforcement, we know more than all of them at the top there. Because our brains have not retired. The knowledge that we have acquired is still with us. And that is why we try to pass on to those who want to hear and who want to listen. We pass on. But coming back to this, we haven't done with this Adriana Young thing. And this, Mr. Conway is correct. They have disciplinary investigation and all sort of thing, but they ain't doing nothing. And I can anticipate that very soon, Mandel gonna make a grand return. They're gonna be a little more cagey with Shah because the US sanctioning. And let me tell you, let me play this here as we try to bow out I think, yeah, I'm going to play this and then we're going to continue with this on, we're going to continue on this when we come again, but I must play this part. It's about 6 minutes, so y'all listen carefully, students.
This media house conducted a search of the U.S. Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control OFAC database for a Mr. Himnauth Saw. This is what we found. We found Himnauth Saw. Male, born June 3rd, 1998. Address is Cane Grove, Guyana. Nationality Guyana. Passport number R02931133. Program: illicit drugs. Guyana has long served as a key transshipment hub for cocaine, trafficked from South America to the United States, Europe, and the Caribbean. Traffickers exploit the region's rivers, jungles, and proximity to the Caribbean, using Guyana and Suriname's ports, often aided by corruption, for maritime smuggling via narco-submarines. Additionally, small aircraft transport cocaine from Colombia and Venezuela to illegal airstrips in Guyana, particularly in the Barima-Waini region, where drugs are hidden in underground bunkers before being flown abroad. After the US sanctioned Senior Superintendent Himnauth Saw and 3 other Guyanese nationals for drug trafficking, President Irfan Ali announced that Guyana has requested detailed information from US officials to support local investigations. The US Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, in coordination with multiple federal agencies, accused Saw of facilitating cocaine trafficking from South America through Guyana, while serving in Region 1, Barima-Waini. Saw, who was linked to a massive 4.4-ton cocaine bust near an illegal airstrip in September 2024, has been placed on administrative leave pending investigation. President Ali emphasized that strong bilateral cooperation with the US continues, especially in port and border security.
And we have been working on strengthening security at every level. Our borders, recently we have upgraded the security at the airport, investing in new scanners and other technology that would help us to strengthen our security. We're also investing in border patrol system. With the US, we're working on the port security and the border security. So we have been having a lot of success. Now, in relation to the sanctions and the police officer, there are a number of things that will happen, of course. The police officer will have to proceed on administrative leave. I've already spoken to the ambassador and requested all information that is available so that we can proceed with action. But I know there have always been tremendous partnership. You remember that Boston Region 1 was a strong partnership. So there has been partnership, sharing of information, and I'm sure there was engagement from the security front. The US has been discussing with us. We've been working together on this security issue. And the US has been talking to us on various initiatives to target persons who are involved, whether in formal and informal setting. The Police Service Commission and Officer Senior, the administrative lead, the investigation will be ongoing. So you have to launch an investigation, you have to have the information.
The government of Guyana and the Home Affairs Ministry reiterated their commitment to combating drug trafficking and pledged further action based on the information received from US authorities.
An operation of this kind couldn't have been done without some local help. But of course, we think that this is a major operation being done by persons from overseas, near neighboring countries. And the investigations are on the way.
No. See your observation what? No, I've not received any complaint. And so what I'll do now that you're telling me is because I saw something in social media this morning. What I'm going to do, I'm going to engage him, since he's right over there. And so I'll ask him to brief you so you can get a better understanding of who involved and who not involved. That's why I'm saying I don't know. And if that's the case, there will be an investigation. I just said that to you.
Well, we have a DEA presence in Guyana. And we have a close working relationship with the U.S. government and with the law enforcement agencies in the United States of America. I've not seen, I'm here at a press conference. There was an expectation that the sanctioned entities would have, or the additional sanctions would come earlier, but apparently they did now. And so I've not seen their names. You said it's relation to drug trafficking. I would like, I don't mind commenting on it, but I would like to just read what it is.
Please remember to subscribe to our channel.
Yeah, so I can expect, or we should expect tomorrow, because that statement from the vice president there would have been made last week, Thursday, as that thing he has, that interaction he has, that they call a press conference. So he had a whole week. So one can expect tomorrow you would have been, you got no names and all this everything to talk about. But that's what you have. And then let me tell you something, that ain't going away too. We have a lot more to speak about on this same this sanction of a police officer, a senior police officer sanctioned for drug trafficking. Understand the seriousness of that. Understand the seriousness that a senior police officer is sanctioned for drug trafficking. Serious, the most serious sanction you could have. This is not, I'm not saying that the other sanctions weren't serious, but I'm saying that this drug trafficking is far more serious than any on the invoicing or whatever they want to talk about. Twist it, turn it, however you want to turn it. A senior police officer in the Ghana Police Force sanctioned by the United States of America for trafficking in narcotics. 4.4 tons of cocaine discovered in the region. The newspaper say he was fingered. And what did they do? They come now to talk about investigation. If you wanted to investigate, you could have started since then. Why did this thing happen and the police were kept out? That should have started an investigation. But no, because the U.S. sanctioned the officer now, they're coming to tell you all sort of thing. And you don't get therapy on Monday, so let me get you therapy now, man.
Sit there and fabricate that. Unless you say who the person is, I can't comment on anonymous people.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Jurong?
Su? Oh, Su? My relationship? Nothing. He's a tenant in my place, yeah.
And he's a good friend of yours?
Yes, yes, he is a friend of ours.
He claims...
Su? Who's Su? He's a friend of ours. Friend of ours. Folks, we've had a long morning. Thanks for your attendance. God spare life. We'll come again Friday afternoon. We get so much thing left back. We can't neglect. We can't allow it to pile up. So God spare life Friday afternoon. Remember Friday at 4 o'clock. We thank we were able to have an uninterrupted session this morning, and we're thankful to the Almighty for that. Because you need to get the credible, valuable information, and we will continue to come and bring it to you. So until we meet, you got to stay safe, you know. You got to be safe. I always saying, they're downplaying, we understand they're downplaying the outbreak of COVID. You get dengue, accidents galore around the place. They are downplaying these things. But you have a responsibility to take care of your own safety and well-being. So please do that for me. Do that for the other students. And folks, until we meet again, as I've said, God spare life Friday afternoon. Take care. Stay well. Bye.